So the final talk in this panel is about a project we've been working on since last year. It involves different organizations in Europe. Many of them already somehow linked with Gaia X, and other projects that are going on now at the EU level. So I thought it was interesting to close the whole event with this kind of follow-up of how we see our contributions to the ONEedge project being part of this new new initiatives, and also what's going on at the European level in terms of data sovereignty, but also edge computing from a European perspective. So I think both of you, Pierre, Andreas, you've mentioned I mean, the significance that edge computing is going to play in Europe. It's expected to play in Europe, both for institutions and also for companies, in the way they potentially has to change the cloud market and the way data is produced and consumed and processed. So that's going to, we all know it's going to be disruptive in that sense, in changing the current structure of the market, but also in bringing new use cases and also obviously new challenges. So I'm not going to go through all the benefits. We are more than familiar with many of these benefits and the use cases in which we are seeing edge computing being applied, and the potential it has for each of these sectors. One of the interesting elements we see from a European perspective is also what we've mentioned, this capacity of organizing the ecosystem in Europe, so creating the way, the platforms and the technologies for more companies in Europe to be able to interact together and share or contribute to that common data spaces or common data infrastructure as well. And also from our perspective, to foster this new local, or strengthen this local ecosystem of infrastructure providers and data providers in Europe. So I'll get into that a bit later on. But then, as you all know, there are a number of challenges in Europe that they don't have to do always with the technologies or the solutions that are missing. It's also about the perception about the cloud, and that for many companies, I mean, this comes, for instance, from the new industrial strategy proposed by the European Commission. So where a number of key issues have been identified as part of this analysis of strategic dependencies and capacities in Europe. So we in the sector, we are aware of these limitations, the problems that many companies see in moving to the cloud, in digitalization, when it implies putting their data or becoming dependent on a specific non-European companies or hyperscalers. Also, the very small market share that European companies, cloud providers, play in that sense. So that's something we also expect edge computing to be able to fix in some way or another. And also what we're seeing lately is obviously this a number of projects promising to change this by providing some proper investment to the European market to together find some solution for this. And both of you, Pierre and Andreas, you've mentioned this challenge of Pierre. You called this well, in your presentation, you referred to something like this as the data pipeline. So we see that from the infrastructure perspective, which is also a challenge in terms of not only bringing together many different providers and many different kinds of infrastructure and platforms here, but also at the European level, and also from an open source perspective, how we create the technologies that we need to be able to actually leverage those resources once we more or less bring them together. So what can actually help the users, or allow the users to make use of all these resources. From our perspective, that implies building something that's open source and also able to kind of orchestrate workloads, different kinds of workloads across this whole data center, cloud, edge, IoT continuum, which is a big word, but that's where we are heading, I guess. That's one of the challenges we've identified from the open source industry sector in Europe. Another one, obviously, most of you might be familiar already with the objectives for the digital decade. These very clear task that we all have collectively, I presume, of deploying or having this 10,000 climate neutral, highly secure edge nodes deployed across the continent by 2030. So that's something I assume will come supported by public funding, but also private initiatives. So we need to see private actors, European private actors, committing themselves to making this a reality. But from a technological perspective, it's also a challenge because there are not always the tools they need to have this infrastructure up and running and offering that to their customers and federating those infrastructures together. Even for large actors like the people in the telecom industry, they face this challenge, how to federate their telco clouds, for instance. So that's going to be something we have to face in the near future. The good thing from an open source perspective, from an open source industry perspective, is that we feel that the climate is changing, and the climate is changing. So literally, sadly, and metaphorically, in Europe, we see recently a change of attitude as well, being more explicit. The European Commission in their both in their efforts to push for this concept of sovereignty having practical implications, and sadly we see that in recent months that have many different dimensions. But from a technological perspective, that's been a clear mandate in this commission. I think they're heading this objective for Europe as a continent. Also, from a technological perspective, the explicit support from the Commission to open source technologies and European open source technologies specifically. I think that's from our perspective, that's going to be a game-changing situation, and we're really happy to see this going on. As I said, we need the industry, the European industry, to get behind projects like Gaia-X and other initiatives around the development and active commitment to sustain, maintain open source technologies in the long term, not just becoming mere consumers of open source technologies or non-open source technologies produced somewhere else. And a good indication that things are changing as well is the May 2021 initiative by the European industry to produce this first roadmap for the next generation cloud and edge. That's later become the European Alliance for Industrial Data, Edge and Cloud. And I'm happy to announce today that last week our CEO was elected chair of the Cloud and Edge working group within the Alliance. So we're looking forward to actually contributing to bring open source as well to the core of the culture of these industry actors in Europe as well. So from our perspective, around projects like Gaia-X and other initiatives, I think we need to see many different actors coming together around, and we see that the potential of open source in being able to bring people together from different areas and different kinds of industries and profiles to really contribute to build together some active cloud and edge ecosystem in Europe around these open platforms. We see people, I mean, integrators have to play a key role, obviously research and innovation organizations in Europe, cloud and edge providers, alone or through mechanisms like the federated catalog that Andreas was mentioning before. 5G and telco operators in Europe, they are also very interested in having these federation tools available and becoming an alternative to hyperscalers, for instance. And then we're also hoping for hardware and IoT manufacturers, and obviously not just public, but private investors as well, to get into this and help us around open source, create this culture of collaboration and make something sustainable in the long term with a real impact on the market. So that's why last year we decided to come together, a number of European open source vendors, technology providers, and start working towards or around this concept of European open source, what that means in terms of improving or strengthening Europe's technological sovereignty. And again, this is not, I mean, this is not about excluding anyone. This is about improving the technological capacities in Europe and the autonomy and the commitment of companies, not only in the IT sector, but beyond the IT sector, to actively contribute and sustain and maintain the technologies, the critical technology their business is relying on. What we've done so far, we've started collaborating together with some of the major technology providers, open source technology providers in Europe. I'll explain to you how in a second. As you see here, we have the technologies in Europe, we have the capabilities, and most of these technologies complement each other and can fit very well together into creating a sovereign edge stack for those companies and public agencies in Europe that want to minimize their dependency on non-European technologies. We're also in the process of incorporating European cloud and edge providers to this initiative, making sure that our technologies are compatible and can be connected to their offerings. And we're also especially looking forward to implementing this integration with the Gaia-X resources and following the recommendations, and obviously leveraging this future federated catalog or catalogs that will be available. And other technologies beyond the cloud and edge realm, let's say, that we see in Europe can complement this approach. And also, second or third step will be to bring integrators, European integrators and hardware manufacturers on board to make sure that these technologies can actually be combined with European hardware alternatives as well. Again, for people in Europe, companies that want to minimize their dependency on non-European technologies, and in the same way, at the same time, supporting the European industry. So in practical terms, what we're doing so far, it's apart from our commitment as OpenNebula through the ONEedge project to help contribute to this discussion in Europe about what sovereignty means for edge computing and the impact it's going to have in the market. We're happy to have been supporting the Gaia-X through different initiatives, like the sponsoring the Gaia-X Summit, and also supporting the Structura-X Lighthouse project. And I'll circulate these slides for you to look into more details about what we've been doing and the events we've been organizing with other fellow open source companies in Europe. Obviously, another implication of this collaboration is working together in large European projects like the IPSAI on cloud infrastructure and services, where we've been the co-chairs of the Cloud Edge work stream, and will be leading the open source meta orchestration platform that will hopefully be part of this project, involving all 12 companies from all 12 EU member states. Again, very happy to see specific mentions to European open source, the development of the European open source, which is also something that Gaia-X is contributing to promote. We've also been working together in coordinating joint proposals and creating consortiums with other European open source technologies, combining these technologies with research and innovation capabilities in Europe to go together to the many calls that are going, as Ana Juan explained earlier this morning, that are going to support from the EU perspective these new developments and facing the challenges we have. And obviously, in all those initiatives and projects, we'll be contributing with the very interesting and powerful edge computing features that we've been developing through the OneEdge project, thanks to the support from the Commission. So that was very quickly telling you this new initiative. I'm really happy. I'm really excited about this. I'm coordinating this initiative. I'm really excited to see things are moving as well, and we are finding ways to collaborate with both with Gaia-X and other initiatives in the European market. So thank you all, and stay in touch. And before I finish, and this we move to the discussion we'll have now. Just a quick note to invite you all to join us for the OpenNebula conference, which was going to be a physical event in Brussels, but we've been delaying this for a while because of the pandemic, till we've decided to move it to fully virtual format, which will help people from all over the world, our community, to join us remotely. Okay.